Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining Chapter 11, DS4A, Data Science for All. This is a super interesting topic. If you saw Chapter 10, you will understand exactly why Chapter 11 is here and why it's critical. And with me, as always, Mark Cowan. How are you today?
I'm great, Jim, and happy to be here as well. And you're absolutely right. We do need to follow on Chapter 10 with this.
Well, let's jump right in and talk about the actual problem of DS4A. We live in a world where information is being democratized, but now data science needs to be democratized as well. So let's talk about how that is. Let's talk about the data science problems today that exist. First of all, data science in a box sometimes falls far short of expectations. And when data science is hyper concentrated in one location, the benefits rapidly diminish the further you are away from the core enterprise business. Can you talk to us for a second about this and let me know if that comic resonates with you?
It certainly does. It's kind of makes you think of the story of, if you saw your best friend jumping off a bridge, so should you. But in terms of the data science problem, you're absolutely right about the hyper concentration of, a piece of advanced technology or decision support piece of technology, not helping the mass majorities. And the best way to think about this is if you draw a parallel to, say, turn by turn traffic analysis, that you may have in your phone. If only one person had that, right? And only one person had that embedded in their phone and were able to take advantage of it, it really wouldn't help anybody, nor would it help that one person. It only helps when that level of decision support or data science is pushed further and further out into the community or into the audience. And the same thing is true inside the enterprise. When you hyper concentrate a piece of technology or solution around a single answer, it has a limited benefit when it's in its local environment, but its real benefit is when you can amplify it out further into the user base.
So let's talk about why this is so important. So I've been caught saying like data is the fuel of things like marketing, but people say data science is the fuel of the 21st century and some other key points that are there. But what we are seeing now is like a perfect storm of things all happening at the same time, part because, far more decisions are being made, if not thousands of decisions are being made every day or hundreds of thousands of decisions, which compounds over time. Decisions result in additional decisions. In addition, decisions are increasing in frequency and becoming far more atomized, far smaller, far more discrete. And the reason for this is we are driving the need for far more decision making because we've got far more process automation, we've got much more data to consider. And we go all the way back to chapter 1, we spoke a lot about data. And we have a lot more information available. Can you talk to us about how you view this world today and why it's so critical? And is data science the fuel of the 21st century, in your opinion?
Just to echo your point here, and I don't really know how much more I can add to this, Jim, in terms of what you've just said, but it's absolutely true that, more and more decisions are being made every day further and further away from the center, right? And so it ultimately comes down to an organizational model and a way you're approaching things. Do you highly centralize all decisions or do you decentralize all decisions? And I think the verdict is in that, decentralization is a stronger model in terms of how you operate an organization. And that plays true right from the centralized architecture approach to the decentralized decision-making and where you engage with your customers. And some of the drivers of that are what you just described here, is that a lot of processes are being automated. So therefore they're going faster, right? And then when they're going faster, that means you get a result quicker. And therefore you've got more factors to consider in a shorter amount of time when you're engaging with somebody or part of another process or decision that needs to be made, right? Which then generates more information and so on. So there's a feedback loop that's happening, that's expanding as we're starting to go faster, is the net of it. And part of that, and why that's all important, is that high quality decisions are generally reflective of, high quality data and information going into them. And so we need to be able to tie all these things together in an informal way or informational.
Let's just jump ahead to the actual process. And the question I have as you walk us through your actual process, can you talk about the element 4 and 5, especially number 5, of embedding decisions into a system and how that all works?
Absolutely. the key part here, and you kind of zeroed in on that, is how do you give somebody not just a fact, but context around a particular fact when they're at the moment of a decision that they're trying to make, right? So it's not just a matter of, projecting a value out into some application and maybe it gets surfaced on the screen. That could be a component of it. That's analogous to, a loan officer in a bank being presented with a credit score. The credit score, yes, that's an absolute part of the story, right? But it's not the entire story. And what they need to have wrapped around that is the context. And how you get that context is, you embed other facts and other pieces of information, into the decision-making process. Now, maybe that's surfaced inside of an application. Maybe that's, part of an in-person interview. Maybe that's done by some, other research or decision support materials, or support processes that happen. But it's very important that that core information be projected out, but it also be embedded inside of the other applications that are making that decision, so that those data elements can interplay on each other.
So the results, what I gleaned so far is, in order to be in a position within the enterprise to make data-driven decisions or have a real live AI-based decision support system, you need to have that delivered to the person making those decisions in the moment where it's critical, so they have the full context. And also having this contextual-based awareness of what's going on around the decision that they are part of. Can you talk a little bit about exactly how all of this works in real life, maybe bring in a real life example?
A real life example of these scenarios would be, consider a call center in a bank. It doesn't even have to be a large global bank. It could be just, a large regional bank. That call center may have 2,500, 5,000 people in it to respond to, customers' calls and queries every day. And that's inclusive of, all the web traffic and self-service, functions that they have. Now, if each one of those individuals is making one decision an hour, which is, not the case, but if they're making one decision an hour, they're making 10 decisions a day, roughly. You're looking at 50,000 plus decisions being made on any particular day. And so this thing gets very wide, very fast. And so the point of that is that you have to be able to present a contextual based view of what's happening in order to respond to all of those decisions in a meaningful way, primarily in this case, so the person doesn't call back. You want to be able to answer all their questions at that particular moment in time, be satisfied, or realize that the product or service is not what they want and move on. Either way, it's about being able to complete the cycle, in an effective way that gives a person, a sense of accomplishment or meaning. And how you do that is by being in that moment with all the different pieces of telemetry that you need in order to make that decision. And you project that in there, either through tools or what have you, in order to help with that.
So the key takeaways that I see from my side: one, concentrated data science only benefits a few. It needs to be distributed throughout the enterprise. Second thing, data science in context helps increase decision-making confidence, very critical. And the third, the piece that you just mentioned in that exact example, embedded insights at the point of use can be done through multiple channels, like a call center. Is that summary fair to say? Or would you add any more detail, especially to number 3?
I don't think I'd add any more detail to that. And I also just don't want to, relegate, the example of number 3 to a call center, because just as you were speaking, I was thinking of another example of an organization we work with that has, that works in rare and infectious diseases. And what they do is they're like literally out in the field, sometimes connected, sometimes not connected. And, kind of with a tablet, and they're having to gather information, but also compute and, determine at that particular moment in time whether or not somebody is a viable candidate for a cure or to be part of a program that can be working towards a cure. And so, these insights are embedded not just at somebody who's at the desktop, but also, someone who can be right in front of, a beneficiary or a customer or patient, or at any moment in time and anywhere in the world. And so the point of that is that these pieces of information that we need to have to push further faster, but they also have to be kind of almost ubiquitous in terms of their ability to be used in multiple different scenarios.
Excellent. Brilliant session, as always. Thank you so much for your time, Mark. That's a wrap. And we have chapter 12 next, our final chapter, which is finding the perfect customer. So I look forward to that one next week.
As do I, Jim. That one's going to be great. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Mark.